The green leaves of the tree waved gently in the wind, and their rustle sang the song of evening, which would soon cover the land. Slowly the deep black source of life set and started wandering off to the other side of the planet. It was accompanied by chromostars, which were always surrounding the dark matter and would never leave its side. With them, the shine that brightened up the world at daytime started to vanish too. They would just leave a black sky eventually, which would make it hard for people to see. But as soon as the next day would begin, they should return and glow in their most beautiful colors for the life of this side of the planet. Underneath a tree, which had grown on a small hill, rested a girl blessed with blooming beauty. She laid still and took deep breaths in her sleep. Her deep black hair danced in the wind, and the green strands began to slightly glow a little in the increasing darkness. She wore a dress also in a black color that couldn't match her hair's blackness and intensity. Above the dress she was wearing a light jacket in the same color, but almost transparent. Around her neck she had a necklace made of thin black metal, which was so long that its ends reached her belly. The lace was crowned with the deep black crystal. The girl's name was Cheyenne, Cheyenne le Blesse. On her lap rested the head of a wolf-resembling being, with long turquoise sensors that made a nice color contrast to the silver fur. It had its black eyes open and gazed with a worrying look at the girl. Eventually it stood up and made a whining noise, touching the girl with its nose until she opened her eyes. Her eye color was the same as of fresh blood. The girl woke up slowly from its sleep and stared at her trustful four-legged companion with half-closed eyes. Cheyenne didn't seem to know where she was at first, since she was still so sleepy. Silent words came over her lips. "Why did you wake me, Adukas? I was having such a nice dream." The fairy wolf whined guiltily, but then gazed at somewhere far away. He stared at the horizon, hoping that the girl would too. And she did. Following the Adukas' gaze, she now watched the wandering of the chromostars. "Did you just wake me up because of the nightfall? We see that so much, even though it's so beautiful every time anew. When the chromostars vanish beyond the horizon and everything slowly gets dark." Wait, dark? Night? Oh no, this can't be happening. Adukas returned his look to the girl and turned his ears forward in her direction. Finally, the girl seemed to understand. Cheyenne got up and searched the surrounding with her eyes to find her horse Falconheart. "I promised grandfather to help him get his market stand tidied up. I was supposed to help him sell as well. Adukas, why did you not wake me earlier?" The fairy wolf whined concerned. Cheyenne sighed and bowed down to her companion. She stroked his back fur, and he knew she wasn't mad at him. "It's all right, it's not your fault that I forget the time, huh? But now we really need to hurry home. I hope grandfather had some business at the market and could make some money. I hope he's not too angry with me." Cheyenne got back up and walked a few steps away from the tree to be able to look better for her horse. She whistled and Adokas barked loudly. A brief moment of silence followed by slow hoofbeats from the back of the hill. She turned around and saw her dark brown horse coming up to her. In its short mane it had dark blue, long strands that looked like Adokas sensors, and it could canter incredibly fast. But she didn't know exactly if it's really sensors or something else. But it was a fact that the horse wasn't a normal one. But Cheyenne knew that anyways, since she rescued it from a research facility. Ever since that day, it gave her its utmost trust. There you are, finally! I was starting to get worried. Now we need to really hurry up and get back home as fast as we can. Can you do it? I'll reward you with an apple. Cheyenne whispered in the horse's ear and smiled. Falconheart snorted and started to dance impatiently. Guess that means you're ready. With a swing, she hopped onto the saddle and remembered how much she had to practice that because she had never enough power to get onto the horse since it's so big. She sat up and asked Falconheart to start moving. The chestnut stallion lifted its front legs for a brief moment before starting to trot. Cheyenne could feel his incredible power in his movement, almost like a ticking time bomb that would explode any moment now. But exactly that was her goal. With that speed, they would be home in no time. But before she sped up her horse, she turned her head around to check where Adokas was. In just that moment, the fairy wolf ran in front of Falconheart and startled the big animal a little. All right, let's go. Cheyenne gave the signal to canter, and the sensitive Falconheart jumped ahead and started galloping. Within a few seconds, they left the hill behind, and they came across the path they had used to get here. Forests and fields were blurrily passing by, almost like they weren't real. Instead, it felt like a dream. But Cheyenne knew the feeling already, and she knew it wasn't a dream. More like dreamful reality. Again it came to her mind how beautiful her life was, even though she had lost her mother right after her birth 17 years ago and never saw her father. But she's got wonderful grandparents who always sacrificed everything they had just to take care of her, ever since she was born. The only thing that really bothered her was that her little family had a hard time paying the taxes. Since they lived in the slums, they had to pay taxes to the king of Exciduma Magna regularly. Even though he had enough money anyways and didn't help his people in any way, unlike a good king would. Sometimes Cheyenne wished to not live in the capital city of this world, Terranox Libertia, but that's how things were and she couldn't change it. Her thoughts were interrupted when they came closer to the village La Sepia. They had to get through this place in order to reach the capital city, but the streets were crowded with people. I forget they had market day here as well. Those people are probably all tidying up their stands. Cheyenne slowed her horse down to a quick trot and tried to think of a tactic to pass the village as fast as possible. Suddenly, Aruka started barking and got the girl's attention. She stopped Falconheart and saw her companion standing a few meters next to her. He pointed his head in the direction of a wooden box which he jumped on seconds later. He barked again and threw a plank down, which landed in a way that someone could just get up to the box he was standing on easily. Arukas entered the rooftop of a house from the box and stumbled to the highest point of which. Huh? You want us to ride on the roofs? You're a genius! Come on, Falconheart, we can easily do that. Cheyenne was proud of the intelligence of her fairy wolf, but the stallion tilted its head and refused a little before walking onto the wooden plank. Arukas waved his tail, turned around, and started trotting over the roof. This is surely the fastest way to cross the village. Carefully the horse took one step after another and laid his ears back. I'll get you 2 apples if you can do this, the girl on its back promised. That was supposedly enough to encourage Falconheart since he jumped ahead, and they were standing on a big box. From this point it was easy to get to the rooftop that was almost the same height. Cheyenne concentrated her look to the front and saw Adukas yawning on one of the rooftops ahead. He just sat there, but got up when he saw the stallion and his girl were getting closer to him. Falconheart stumbled quickly over the roofs, and every time he jumped from roof to roof, Cheyenne feared that they would crash down together with it. But they didn't. Although people started noticing the loud noises coming from the rooftops, but they couldn't make out what exactly made the noises. The stallion now moved quick and had a goal in front of his eyes, which was the end of the rooftops where the silver wolf just chased off a cat. He jumped down and was out of sight. When they reached the end of the rooftops, it was easy for Falconheart to get down, since there were a few boxes standing next to the last house, sorted by size, which made it safe to get down to the earth again. No, that was pure luck. As soon as the horse reached the ground, it started picking up speed again, and before one of the villagers noticed them, they were out of sight already. Alcas was running ahead again. Fairy wolves belonged to the fastest being in the world. He could have never even stood a chance on keeping up with Falconheart's speed if it was just a regular wolf. In front of her, Cheyenne now saw the capital city, which was gigantic and built on a huge stone platform-like phenomenon. No one knew exactly how this happened and how its balance worked, since it's home of hundreds of houses and even castles. It's perfectly stable and doesn't crash down. Everything above the stone plate was called Upper City, which is where the rich and middle class lived, and everything underneath it Undercity. The Undercity was built around and in the stone pillar, which got bigger at the foot and smaller, closer to the plate. Down there in the slums at the foot of the pillar was Cheyenne's home.